turn our attention to the Inter-Nations Cup for two-wheel drive cars. Here we go with England, with Ireland, with Norway and with Denmark.
Well, that's right, and it's first blood to Norway then. Off the line comes the big Volvo. Yep, that's right, Volvo Handler Hoffman. And the Norwegian team is entirely Volvo, front-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive machines. This one, a rear-wheel drive conversion to the S40. And sadly for Ireland, that is the Mini of Frank O'Connell that spins out. And challenge there for third, second place as well between the Opel Manta for Denmark and biffing. Oh, that's a broken suspension. And that is disappointment for Des Wheatley, the Metro driver with the touring car-powered Rover Metro. He's got broken suspension. He is going no further, and the red flags are coming out. And, well, let's have another look at that there. Just tries to make it, perhaps blind spotted by the Opel Manta, and an impact like that on heavy truck tyres does not do a car any good. So it's on to the next round of heats here. And, well, we've got a pretty famous car lined up here. This Porsche representing Wales, Barry Stewart aboard. This is the ex-Rolf Nielsen Porsche, but just look at the speed of that Volvo. That Porsche won the first ever British Rallycross Grand Prix.
Well, it's brilliant to see. Not only are we getting some great entertainment here at the British Rallycross Grand Prix meeting, but we're also seeing such a variety of cars, and that's, I think, the exciting thing as these nations go head-to-head.
Well, this is a great variety here. Stian Haugen of Norway out in front in the Volvo S40. This is a brand new car, though. David Binks from Gosford actually running this car, which is normally number 69, carrying 58 this weekend. The BMW Mini, and what a development job they've done on this car. It's getting better and better every time they go out. This car has high hopes for class victories in the Rallycross Super Series 2005.
And it's great to see the new shape Mini coming into Rallycross as well, because Minis, of course, going way back to the 70s, so dominant in those categories of Rallycross sport that we saw all the way through the 70s and the 80s to that extent. But at the moment, Norway it is who have the advantage in the form of
Tell you what, these Volvos, everybody absolutely loves them. Stian Haugen there, absolutely sideways with that rear-wheel drive car. Watch him just get the power down now, wind on the opposite lock and drive the car on the gas pedal. It's almost ballet.
Brilliant stuff then, onto the loose. Tell you what though, not leaving behind David Binks, and Binks gets it a little bit sideways there. Front wheel drive, of course, for him that will help him, and he gets to the right back end, literally, of the Norwegian. It's a Norwegian fjord going on here.
Well, a great duel between the big Volvo and the more agile Mini. And David Binks, actually, very funny. He normally runs, as I say, with the race number 69, which he has dyed into his hair. Of course, he's got a different race number this weekend, so people are making all the wrong assumptions about his number on his head.
Well, no answer to that really. David Binks is quicker though, Steve, isn't he, on the loose stuff. The Mini seems to be better positioned. Look at him, he picks up a huge amount of ground there. It's only the power of the Volvo, really. That's outdoing the Mini, and here he goes, trying to get alongside. He's really got to do it in this loose section as they bounce across all of the bumps and furrows that have been kicked up in Croft this weekend.
Well, I tell you what, Stian Haugen is a very experienced competitor and very, very hard man to find a way past. He has got the widest Volvo in Yorkshire, that is for sure.
I don't know about that. I've been behind a few on the motorway.
Normally they have to tow a caravan before they get in the way this much, but the Volvos here are absolutely flying. Some of these Volvos have as much as 400 horsepower, and that's what gets him to the checkered flag first. And that means more points for Norway in the Inter-Nations Cup. Now, next cars line up, and, well, contrasting shapes this time. The Audi TT there, representing Wales. That's Michael Boak from Jarrow, but he says since his mother's maiden name was Jones, it's a good reason to run in the Audi for Wales. But it's the man from Great Britain, or from England this time. It's Mike Dresser in the Lotus, and the Lotus Exige, using that power-to-weight ratio of the engine sitting right over the rear wheels to absolutely slingshot off the line. The downside is when he gets onto the loose here, this is about as twitchy a car as you can get on gravel. It's like walking a tightrope. Just watch his hands inside it.
He is working furiously in there to keep that going in the right direction. What's the right direction? Well, it's where the course goes, and he tries to negotiate it round the right hander, but you can see already being put under pressure now as the rest of them close in on him. In the 53 there, that is the Norwegian of Per Jorgensen, another Volvo, of course, for Steve to get all excited about, because I know you're a fan.
Thank you. But now, I tell you what, this guy is perhaps the hottest shoe in the Volvo team, because this man from Holmstrand in Norway, there we see the number 74 Vauxhall Astra 2 litre of Gary Dixon, again running, would you believe, for the Danish team, even though he comes Lincoln because he reckons the Vikings invaded that a few years ago. But Mike Dresser at the head of this order is driving absolutely superbly. Chairman of the British Rallycross Drivers Association, he's put an awful lot into sport over the years, not least in developing a car like this.
Well, and that's the other thing, isn't it, Steve? We talked before about the variety of cars that you can bring to Rallycross, and Mike doing a great job in bringing out the little sports car and fighting off the attentions of that bruising Volvo that really wants to try and nick the win away from it. But I think Mike just maybe hold on here, sideways again. Is Per Jorgensen can't get the thing lined up and get past, can he?
Well, Jorgensen's certainly trying, but don't forget the Volvo's heavier. It has to go over on the brakes. Gets his nose, and that's what happens when you try and go too late on the brakes. You go dirt tracking in the Volvo, gets the car back under control. And Per Jorgensen, you can see why he is the reigning speed hill climb champion in Norway.
And the votes are in from the Danish jury, 5.9 for artistic impression.
But out at the head of the order, Mike Dresser still in the lead of this heat. Now, he's been keeping it tidy. Don't forget, he's going still for the best possible time. Bumper hanging off the back of the Volvo. Now, I've got to say, that's not as a result of contact. That's just the sheer amount of dirt that's being thrown up into the bumper. The weight of the dirt's pulling it away.
You can see the handbrake coming on there, locking on those rear wheels of the Volvo as he tries to pendulum it, do the old Scandinavian flick type of thing, and then handbrake on and flick it round. But there is the checkered flag. Dresser takes the victory for England in the Internations Cup.
Superb drive by Mike Dresser. Great performance though by the Norwegians, and straight on with the rest of the action. This time we've got the Vauxhall Nova of Alan Tapscott representing Wales, the bright green Vauxhall Corsa of Gordon Rogers, but through the lot of them comes steaming the Volvo of Frode Holter. Now this is the guy in Norway they're tipping as being the next Martin Schenker, the legendary Rallycross ace. Meanwhile, Erling Krog in that Opel Manta is very sideways indeed.
That is brilliant stuff. Don't you love to see those Mantas sideways? Reminds you of the rallying days from the 70s. Cracking stuff, but how on earth he held onto that, bounced all over the curbing on the inside of Clervo, but kept it going roughly in the right direction.
But just look at this little Vauxhall Corsa. It's a match for the 400 horsepower of the big Volvo. And at the moment, you know, Gordon is doing a fantastic job. Gordon Rogers comes all the way up from Devon for this event. He's probably driven nearly as far as the Norwegian drivers to get here. But what a drive for him at the moment, and he is hanging on grimly to the tail of that blue and white Volvo.
Yeah, Frode Holter it is who leads then. The challenge is going on behind. Just bring up the rear for Ireland at the moment. He's Declan Kelly in the little Vauxhall Nova. That's the quintet that we have. And look at that brilliant sideways stuff. Frode Holter putting on a show for the crowd behind. But look how that suspension drops right down. On into the kitty litter goes Declan Kelly, and that's going to be the end of his day, I suspect.
Yes, I think a round of applause from the crowd there. They're loving this entertainment that the two-wheel drive cars give. Less traction, less grip, of course, than the four-wheel drive machinery, but they are still touching 95 miles an hour on the run down to Clervo Corner.
Which is astonishing, really, isn't it? When you think that they're more than halfway down the main straight here at Croft. If you've been here, you can visualise that, I'm sure. But at the moment, Frode Holter has to negotiate the loose stuff before getting back onto the tarmac. He's also got to make sure he fights off the attentions from behind.
Well, I tell you what, though, this is very, very good for England and the checkered flag, because the work of Gordon Rogers and Mike Dresser and the rest means that we are right on the tail of the Norwegians in the points for the Internations Cup. It's England versus Norway.
Yeah, we being England, of course. No partisan commentary going on here, of course. Well, away we go then for the next run in the heats, and it's again the Volvo that takes it off the line.
This is Hans-Olaf Oppheim. This is the rerun of the heat we saw red flagged earlier. And right behind him is the Metro of Des Wheatley. We saw that broken wheel because it was red flagged. He was allowed to replace the wheel, and he is running. So again, it's England in pursuit of Norway. But just look at the number 72 Opel Manta of Klaus Gromberg. He is such a spectacular driving. The man from Fordingsburg near Faro in Denmark. It's a 2-litre car. He's actually the 2-litre rear-wheel drive Danish champion. And when he gets on the loose, just watch the Norwegian and the Dane here get those rear-wheel drive cars completely sideways.
Well, it's no surprise, is it, that they've been so successful in both Rallycross and rallying because of all the different conditions that they get to fight out. Great effort from Des Wheatley's team to get that car repaired, because it looked like the whole front left corner was completely caved in after hitting those big tyre stops.
And I can tell you now, that Metro is a little bit different to the car your granny goes shopping in, because that car has got a full 2-litre Judd British Touring Car Championship engine in, from an MG touring car.
Stunning stuff, isn't it? And again, that's one of the great appeals. Oh! Round and round we go. Klaus Gromberg gets all in a spin and out of shape. Meantime, this looks like pretty much a done deal as far as Hans-Ulrich Oppheim is concerned in the Volvo S40.
Yeah, all the way up from Trondheim, way up in the Arctic, this man. He comes from Ronsersborg, and he is literally, has come down nearly 1,000 miles from the land of the midnight sun in order to take part in the Internations Cup. And at the moment, it's the Norwegian team that is the team to beat.
Yeah, they've brought this team of Volvos, as Steve was saying earlier on, and they're doing the business, as they say at the moment, keeping off the inside, the very inside line, just to make sure he can clip that apex, then back onto the loose, turns left-handed, then it's a straight run down before this very tight and demanding little section that they come into. A long right-hander, first of all, sweeping round that. Don't drift out too wide, otherwise you can get yourself in all sorts of problems.
Well, that's right. Well, the Opel Manta heads home. It's Hans-Ulrich Oppheim taking the checkered flag, though, for victory again for Norway. And now we've got one of the real treats. Look at the car at the back of the field here. Yep, the big upright Volvo 240. This car has 600 horsepower going through the rear wheels. It's an awesome bit of kit. Just look at that acceleration. And that is leaving a mid-engine Renault Clio V6 for dead.
And everybody else as well, by the sound of it. Absolutely catapulting off the line as though the afterburners have been ignited. And the secret here, I think, Steve, is if you can keep the momentum going through the loose stuff, then he's just going to drive away on the straights. But I suspect the others will have something to say about that on the loose here.
You know, these big old Volvos, the rear-wheel drive cars, the 240 GLTs and 240 turbos, we tend to look at these and think very pedestrian and very staid. In Scandinavia, in Norway and Sweden, these were the equivalent of the Ford Escort RS. Just about every rally man has rallied one of these. Oh, and there you can see the challenge there of the Renault Clio V6 behind, because that car's mid-engine, it's got a big heavy 6-cylinder engine behind the driver. It's fantastic grip off the line. But at the moment, Dave Bellaby is all over the back in the little Vauxhall Nova, and then sliding wide there goes the Renault.
Well, Dave Bellaby put in a great job there, didn't he? The way to get by was to try and launch it. We've got a very smoky car at the back of this particular heat, and at the moment, Norway look like they're going to bag another whole heap of points.
Well, the interesting thing I'm going to watch now is Dave Bellaby in that Vauxhall Nova. He is the British Super Modified Champion, comes from Northallerton. This is his home track. He knows it intimately. And we've got problems for the Volvo. Oh dear. And in fact, it looks like everyone's slowing. A red flag is being waved. And we have problems down on the Clervaux corner. Disappointment there. And let's see what happens. Here comes the Volvo streaming off the line though. What a fantastic start. That is mega horsepower.
Well, it's that quick, Steve. I just wonder whether the hands up in the back, did he just get a false start, I wonder?
Well, it could well be that is all for nothing. Then maybe a jump start there. Here we go again though. Manages to do it a second time around. Absolutely amazing. Dave Bellaby gets a big jump sideways and almost makes contact with everybody else in the back. Bellaby goes around the outside of the Renault. The Peugeot 205 of Gary Donoghue fights through as well. It's the Mini at the tail end of the order for the Welsh team of Grant Rees, number 68, just 16 years older. Mike Seller's Renault Clio there, really having to fight hard. Mike Seller's son, as he's been nicknamed, from Sittingbourne in Kent. But just look at the sideways angle Dave Bellaby is getting that Vauxhall Nova to in second place. He is amazing.
If there's a sideways award today so far, Dave Bellaby is without question one of the nominees. Cracking stuff from him. Again, how on earth the big old Volvo there.
We have got yet more dramas. The engine lets go for Ola Froshaug. And the smoke at the back of the car, it's coughing and sputtering. It's through into the lead for Dave Bellaby as Froshaug pulls off. And I think that is going to be a big, big disappointment. But Bellaby gets it all wrong as well. Maybe Bellaby got a windscreen full of oil because cars are going in all directions. And I think everyone else has picked up on Froshaug's oil. There's the 63 car, Gary Donoghue for Ireland. And you can see his windscreen is completely wiped out. Not surprisingly, red flags again.
Well, here's Dave Bellaby going absolutely all over the place, but look at that mighty collision behind, demolishing the tyre wall. So let's try and do it all again with just 3 cars this time.
And now we are 3. Yeah, that's right. It's down the inside is Dave Bellaby, but using the power of the Renault Clio, Mike Seller. As I say, from generations of Vikings that landed in Sittingbourne representing the Danish team. Sittingbourne in Kent it is, but again, just look at the light. I was about to say light and agile, but very robust, Vauxhall Nova.
I'll tell you what, talk about stick it in there, son. Dave Bellamy really did just put the front end of his Nova in there, desperately wanting to take that lead position. Knows that he's quicker on the loose stuff. You can see there he opens up 2 or 3 car lengths as they bounce and scramble across the infield here at Croft.
Well, you know, this could well be the last race meeting for us to see Dave Bellamy in this super modified championship winning Vauxhall Nova. The word is it's up for sale. The word is it might even have been bought by one of the junior minicross drivers as their car for next season. If it is, it's going to be a great car to run. But the question is now, I wonder what Dave Bellamy is going to turn out in next year. I bet it's going to be something quick.
And in his hands, there's no doubt at all, it will be quick, whatever it is. But at the moment, Mike Seller has got no response to Dave Bellamy's rumbustious start, shall we say?
Well, down to 3 cars in this particular heat. Now, that could just work in Dave Bellamy's favour. And, of course, the England team in the Internations Cup. They need to score the best possible time to match the Volvos. And this could be the opportunity. A fairly clear track. And that means we could have the best possible time. At the moment, the time to beat is Per Jurgensen's time and Hans-Olaf Opheim, both doing 3-minute 9-second runs. And that is what Dave Bellamy has to get himself down to try and beat.
Well, he's doing as best he can at the moment, just racing the clock rather than Mike Seller behind him. He'll have a watchful eye in his peripheral vision on that mirror, but look at the line he takes there through the first part of Clermont, just clipping that apex again onto the brakes, comes right up onto the curb, before sweeping round the right-hander, and he'll turn right onto the loose. And behind, also running well, Grant Rees in the little Mini in 68.
Well, you can't give away a lot in horsepower with the Mini here, but I tell you what, Grant Rees, fantastic young driver, just 16 going on 17, and would you believe this young man managed to convince the medical authorities to let him compete despite having vision in only one eye, and I tell you what, that one eye works better than my two.
And all credit as well to the guys in the authorities signing him off to get out there and competing. That's what we want to see more of.
Well, that's right, and at the head of the order though, it's Dave Bellamy coming up to take the checkered flag. Now the question is, will Dave Bellamy be able to get a fast enough time to compete with the flying Norwegians? That is the question. The time to beat 3:09 and 13 seconds. Well, there is the answer. Second fastest goes to Des Weekly in the Metro. Third, Dave Bellamy. And fourth goes to Frode Holter. And fifth to Stian Haugen. It's head-to-head between England and Norway.